I'm Lori Ward. I'm CEO at Washington's National Park Fund. I want to give a special shout out to my colleague Sharon London, who's been coordinating and running these virtual field trips since we started them in mid-March. We've gotten just great response from all of you, and we welcome you here today. And if we can't go out to our parks, and yet we are able to more now, which is terrific, we are bringing the parks into your homes. So we're grateful that you're with us. I lead an organization that serves Mount Rainier, North Cascades, and Olympic National Parks. We serve as their official philanthropic partner. The superintendents work very closely with our board, and they attend our board meetings, provide counsel to us and advice. And the board is run by 23 very passionate, hardworking, and involved board members. The staff at Washington's National Park Fund is 7 smart and passionate women who just run various programs throughout the organization throughout the year. We're excited for today's field trip. We hope that you have your backpacks on and your boots ready, and let's board the bus and head on up to North Cascades National Park. With that, I'm personally very excited about this today's virtual field trip. I think sound in national parks is just such a huge part of the experience when we're in them. And I know you'll be touched today as you hear what Anna brings to us. And so with that, I'm going to share that Anna is a park guide, Anna Vornholt. She's a park guide up at North Cascades National Park. We're glad you're with us, Anna. Yep. She's from Atlanta, Georgia. Originally, she's been working with the National Park Service for 7 years. She's worked in some incredibly beautiful states in our country, Utah, Maine, Alaska, Montana, and Wyoming. But of course, her favorite is North Cascades. She's been at the park for a little over a year. She runs a lot of programs out of the visitor center in New Halem. Do I have that right? The beautiful theater there. Yeah. And she's missing this. So it's great for you to be here and give you this opportunity to bring your knowledge and your insights to our 100 plus people who are with us here today, Anna. So with that, I turn it over to you, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much, Lori and Sharon, for having me here today. Really appreciate the opportunity to get to come and share a little bit about North Cascades. Just for those of you who aren't around here right now, just to let you know what it's like here in North Cascades, it's been kind of gray and rainy the last few days, about 50 degrees. Today, there's a little bit more sun coming out. We've definitely got lots of green, lush plants growing in the park right now. The flowers are blooming down low, and we've got berry plants that are starting to form their berries. So we're all getting very excited thinking about warmer weather and moving into summer. Today, we're going to be going on a little virtual field trip to kind of learn about some of the different sounds that are happening all throughout North Cascades. And Sharon's going to be helping me out and actually playing my presentation for me as we're working through some slower internet connections here. So Sharon, if you're able to go ahead and pull that up, we can get started. Oh, thank you. Starting with a beautiful image. Like Lori said, I've been working here at North Cascades for about a year. And one of the things that really drew me to come here in the first place was just scenes like this, just spectacular mountain scenery where you're looking out over these seas of peaks. I really wanted to get there and explore that. And when I arrived here a year ago, one of my first weeks, I was working outside of the visitor center in New Halem, and I was sitting outside, which is in this kind of forested area. And I heard this really interesting sound coming from the woods. It was something that I'd never heard before. And it was almost like this high-pitched kind of piping noise, I guess is the best way to describe it. So I'm going to imitate it for you. And it's probably going to sound really funny coming over the computer, but it kind of sounded like boop, boop, boop. And I was like, what is this? It really captivated me, and it was just echoing throughout the forest. One of my coworkers who knows a lot about birds was able to help me figure out that what we were hearing was most likely an owl, probably the northern Pygmy Owl. And if you can go to the next slide, please, Sharon, we can show what that looks like. Yeah. Yeah, cute little owl here. So the northern pygmy owl, it's only about 6 or 7 inches. So a really small owl with this really loud call. In that forested area that I was in, there was no way that I was going to be able to actually see this bird. But when I was hearing it, I still felt like I had this kind of neat experience with wildlife. And really that experience opened up my eyes to the idea that there's a lot here beyond what we can see. And if we use our sense of hearing, that's another way just to enrich our experiences and learn more about a place. Next. So I started thinking about sounds in the national park, and sounds, natural sounds, are one of the resources that the National Park Service is tasked with protecting, one of the things that we are trying to protect. And we use the word soundscape, which is, I think, is a really pretty word. It's kind of a fancy word that means all of the different sounds that you can hear in a specific place. So if you think of that, maybe comparing it to a landscape, when you're thinking of a landscape, you're seeing all the different layers, like the layers of water and the rocks and the plants and the sky. Those different layers make up your landscape scene. Soundscape is kind of the same idea, the different layers of sound that you would hear in any specific place. So today we are going to be learning about the soundscapes in some places all throughout North Cascades National Park Service Complex. And next, please, we will start. Oh, before we do that, yes, we will start with just thinking about the soundscapes that are around us right now. So what I would love for you to do is to spend maybe just 30 seconds with me wherever you are, if you're in your home or if you're in your office or by a window. And we're just going to take 30 seconds to silently listen together to the soundscapes in the places that we're in. Okay, and I will time us to make sure that we don't lose track. If you'd like to listen with me, it's starting now. All right, I would love it if you could maybe add in the chat box, type in some of the different things that you were hearing in your soundscapes. If you want everyone to be able to see your message, if you click on that chat box, make sure you say to all panelists and attendees. Or if you just want the panelists to see it, you can say that too. If you can share maybe some of the different things that you were hearing. Neighborhood chickens, birds. I'm also hearing birds out the window from where I am too. Some people hearing traffic, trains, someone's sister making a smoothie. Awesome, planes, people, kind of a mix here. So we're hearing some of those natural sounds like the birds, some people hearing the sounds that are going on in their buildings around them. Awesome, thank you all for sharing those. Now we are going to go ahead and move into the park and the soundscapes that are in North Cascades. We're gonna start in Big Beaver, which you can see on the map there. There's a little yellow star kind of showing where that is. Big Beaver is a creek that flows into Ross Lake. To get there, you either have to take a boat or you could hike on a trail to get up to Big Beaver. Next. This valley is full of old growth forests. So some of the largest and the oldest trees in the park are found in Big Beaver. And we are going to take just a few seconds here to listen to what it sounds like in Big Beaver. So I would love for you to, again, use that chat box and maybe type in some of the things that you were hearing in that recording, or if you want to type in maybe how that made you feel when you were listening to those sounds, you can do that as well. Maybe we could go to the next slide. What did you hear? Yeah, hearing some water, owls, frogs. Yeah, Big Beaver is, with all of that old growth forest, there's a lot of life that's happening there. So definitely getting a lot of different animals that are living there, lots of bird song. Next slide, please. I wanted to share a little bit about some of the different things that we were hearing. Some of you might have heard that there was kind of that that like deeper, louder noise. That was coming from the barred owl, which you can see a picture of right there. A lot of time with bird songs, people like to assign human words to their songs to help us recognize them. So with the barred owl, it's been described as having a call that sounds like, "Who cooks for you? Who cooks for you all?" So if you hear that, you could maybe pick out the barred owl. They live in many places throughout the country. We're also hearing lots of songbirds. I love the sound of birds, and I think they're just beautiful and really relaxing. But it's important to remember that these sounds are also ways that birds are communicating with each other and ways that they're able to survive. You know, animals like the barred owl, when they're hooting, a lot of times it's for territorial reasons, to make sure that they're telling all the other owls that this is their territory. And birds are also communicating for, you know, finding habitats. They're communicating with their mates and their young. They're warning each other about predators. So these really beautiful and relaxing calls are also important ways that animals are able to communicate to survive. So we're going to go ahead to the next place on our tour here. We're going to be going to Easy Pass, which again, you can see the little yellow star there. So Easy Pass is kind of on the eastern boundary of the park. And to get to Easy Pass, you have to hike about 3.5 miles, climbing up 3,000 feet in elevation gain. So you can decide for yourself how easy that sounds like. Once you get up there, you've reached this kind of subalpine meadow. So a relatively easy way to cross through the really rugged mountains around us. In the next slide, please, we can see a picture of what it looks like at Easy Pass. This picture was taken during the summer. Definitely if you were up at Easy Pass right now, it would still be completely covered with snow, but this gives you a good idea of kind of that subalpine rocky meadow that you'd be in. And let's take a little bit of a listen and see what it sounds like in Easy Pass. Awesome. So if you would like to, again, use that chat box and maybe share some of the things that you're hearing there, maybe just one of the things, there's kind of that quieter, almost whistling sound. When I was first playing this recording for people, someone once told me that that sounded almost like a bicycle brake screeching. It's like, that's an interesting comparison. Maybe someone said that sounds kind of like a varied thrush. Why did the pitch change? So this kind of high-pitched whistling sound that we were hearing was actually from an animal whose nickname is the whistle pig. And on the next slide, we can see what the whistle pig looks like. It's one of my favorite animals, the Hoary Marmot. So maybe after hearing that call, you might understand their nickname a little bit more, the whistle pig. Hoary marmots live up in those higher elevations. And I really think marmots have some of the best lives of any animals that live here in North Cascades, because they spend so much of their time laying out in the sun and eating a lot, and they hibernate like 8 months out of the year. But they also make those calls. Those are warning calls when they see something that might be a potential threat or a predator. So when we're hearing kind of those different pitches, it is most likely multiple marmots kind of talking back and forth to each other. So if you're ever hiking through an easy pass or an area similar to that, and you start hearing those calls, it could be because a marmot has seen you and thinks that you're something strange and maybe a threat, and is warning all the other marmots around to look out, that there's something strange here. So we are gonna stay in easy pass for our next sound on the next slide. So once again, we're in this beautiful place. We're gonna listen to another recording from here. So once again, if you want to start using that chat box to talk about what you're hearing, seeing avalanche, rockfall, yeah, bull elk, some good guesses for sure. Yeah, a lot of you are kind of getting on the right track. This is definitely a recording of a rockfall. We don't necessarily know if it was a rockfall that was caused by an elk or by something else that was there, but definitely the rocks kind of tumbling down. And on the next slide, we can see a picture of kind of the backside of Easy Pass and some of those rocks that are there. You know, I really wanted to play this sound because when I'm thinking about sounds, I really love animals and I love hearing bird calls and learning about animals. But a lot of the sounds that are in our soundscapes are not necessarily from things that are living. They're from things like rock falls or wind or cascading water. We have waterfalls and flowing rivers really all throughout this park. Those are all important layers in that soundscape. So I wanted to play this rock fall to kind of think about that while we're here in beautiful Easy Pass. But let's go ahead and move on to our next location. We are now going to be going to Sourdough Mountain. Some of you might have hiked up there before. You can see the star. It's just a little bit north of the highway, the State Route 20 that goes through the park. Sourdough Mountain is possibly one of the more strenuous day hikes that you can do in North Cascades. To get up to Sourdough Mountain, you hike about 5 miles, climbing about 5,000 feet in elevation gain through all sorts of different vegetation. And on the next slide, we can see what it looks like when you've made it up there and worked for those views. In a early summer, you might see lots of glacier lilies like this, but you get these magnificent views looking out over the mountains and down on Diablo Lake as well. You can see it in the picture here, that beautiful green color. So let's hear what it sounds like up on Sourdough Mountain. Short recording, but go ahead and share what you're hearing there, what you heard from that recording. Maybe some buzzing, water. Awesome. Yeah. Definitely some natural sounds. So we're hearing maybe some wind, we're hearing some buzzing and maybe a bird in there. But we're also getting a lot of that motor sound that's coming from the highway. On the next slide, I've got kind of an image to show you. So even though Sourdough Mountain is this big hike up to the top of a mountain, you know, down in the valley, where it starts is where the main State Route 20 goes through the park. And the way the topography is in North Cascades, we've got some really, really steep mountains with this valley, with this highway, where the sound can really carry. So even when you're up pretty high and you've hiked a long way to get to the top of the mountain, you're still sometimes hearing those noises from the highway down below. So in this map here, you can see our star is where Sourdough Mountain is, and the road kind of goes along the water in this map and around the edge of Diablo Lake and out towards Ross Lake to kind of give you an idea of the topography there. All right, let's move on to another place in our tour here, our audio tour of North Cascades. This is actually going to be our last one for today. This is a short tour, but this is my favorite. The stars all the way down in the bottom corner there, you can see. So in the southern part of the park, we're going down to the Lake Chelan National Recreation Area. And we are going to be on the Rainbow Loop Trail. On the next slide, we can see a picture of what the Rainbow Loop Trail looks like. Has some great views looking out over the Stehekin Valley, kind of forested, and you've got those mountains all around again. All right, let's hear what it sounds like on the Rainbow Loop. Awesome. So that one gets kind of loud, but I'm seeing some people putting in guesses there. What it is that you're hearing, and some excellent guesses. A wild ranger. That's probably the best guess I've seen. So what we're actually hearing was a black bear checking out and possibly even chewing on one of our microphones. So you might have been wondering where we got all of these different recordings that I've been playing for you today. So they're all made as part of an acoustic monitoring program here in North Cascades, where researchers actually hike out, they go out to all of these places and they set up a tripod with a microphone on it. And on top of that microphone, they'll put this big black fuzzy thing that helps kind of collect sound and buffer from the wind. And in this recording, it sounds like that black bear is checking that out and possibly even chewing on it. It definitely sounds like he's chewing on it at one point. Bears are really curious, and he was probably just seeing if it was food or what it was. And you can see a picture of it there, kind of that black thing on top of the microphone that might be appealing to a curious bear. Along with the microphone being set up, there's also a little weather station as well on the other tripod, so that while those sounds are being recorded, we're also recording weather, meteorological data. So this equipment will be set up at each place for at least 25 days or so. Data will be collected in one of those suitcases that you can see down on the ground there. And then researchers will go back out, collect all of that, bring it back in, and actually analyze the different sounds that they're hearing. And on the next slide, we can see what they do with some of those sounds. They'll make what are called spectrograms, which are basically visual representations of the different frequencies of sound. So what we can, a picture, if you will, of the different sounds. So the one on the top there is a picture of that rockfall that we heard in Easy Pass. You can see the orange lines kind of show the frequency as the rocks continued to tumble and got louder and then died off. The one on the bottom, that is a spectrogram showing the sounds that we heard at Big Beaver. So all of the different bird calls, and then the louder owl hoots that you can see are kind of the dots right in the middle of the frequencies there. And next slide, please. Just a beautiful picture. You know, you might be wondering why we send researchers out to hike to these remote places and we spend time and effort to make these sound recordings, besides just so that I can play them and share them with you all. We do this acoustic monitoring, well, partly to just learn about the park and learn about what's out there. You know, from these recordings, they've heard wolves howling and spotted owls, the endangered spotted owl hooting in places maybe that they didn't expect. So there's a lot we can just learn from these recordings. These are also part of a wilderness character monitoring plan. So just making these recordings and getting baseline data to understand the soundscapes that are out there. You know, most of this park is wilderness. And if we know what those soundscapes are, if we know what the sounds are like out there, then if we're getting intrinsic noises or things that are affecting them, then possibly they can be managed in the future. We want to make sure that we are protecting the natural sounds that are out there for the animals that maybe rely on these sounds to survive, but also for the enjoyment of people and for the wilderness experiences that a lot of people come to North Cascades to seek out. that's not to say that when humans are in North Cascades that we need to be just whispering only and tiptoeing through and not making any noises at all. You know, humans are a natural part of this place too. And humans have been here in North Cascades way before this was a park, for over 10,000 years. But there are definitely some things that we can do to help make sure that we are protecting that natural soundscape. And on the next slide, I've got a few ideas of different things that you can think about when you're in North Cascades or in any national park or natural area to help make sure that you're also protecting the soundscape. Really, the most important thing I think you can do is just to be considerate and think about what you would want it to sound like for you. And if you're doing that, then you're probably already also going to be doing these other things as well. Maybe talking in a quieter voice if possible, silencing cell phones, not playing music. If you're in a campground, you can think about making sure you're obeying those quiet hours, just overall being considerate. And in that way, you will also maybe get to see more wildlife and get to experience this place in a different way. Ultimately, though, no matter what I tell you about why sounds are so important or why the Park Service thinks sounds are so important, I'm hoping that you'll get a chance to actually go out and experience the natural soundscapes around you or here in North Cascades on your own. I think that sounds really, it can be a very personal experience to listen to things. And what's the saying? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Well, I think maybe sounds are also in the ear of the beholder, and they can definitely be really inspiring. You know, I heard an owl hooting in the woods, and a year later, I still am inspired to talk to people about it because I think it was such a cool thing. So I'm really hoping that you'll be able to get out and have some of those experiences as well. I do want to point out a couple of resources if you're interested in learning more about natural sounds. The National Park Service has a Natural Sounds and Night Skies division, and you can see their website right there, or you can Google that. And from there, you can learn more about sound preservation. You can learn how to become a junior sounds explorer, a junior ranger sounds explorer. And you can also learn more about the science behind acoustic monitoring if you want to kind of dig more deeply into that and actually see the reports from parks all across the country. If you want to learn more about the natural sound program in North Cascades, you can also do that from our website there. We have way more recordings than the ones that I just played here, and you can see those, listen to those, and see some of the spectrograms as well. So I definitely encourage you to check out those sources if you're interested in learning more. But with that, I really thank you all for coming along with me on this short journey into the park, into the sounds. I really appreciate getting a chance to share this with all of you virtually.
Anna, that was great.
Thanks.
It really was. Yeah, a few questions have come up that I want to run by you. Do you hear noise at all from Navy jets?
I believe that there are I'm not sure about specifically Navy jets. I know in some of the reports that they have heard jet sounds and those have been recorded. Yes.
Just curious about that. It is something that is experienced over at the Olympics, and somebody was asking about that. Is there, do you know, thank you, is there a digital library? This is an interesting question. A digital library of sounds at either Mount Rainier or in the North Cascades?
We definitely have sounds like the ones that I played for you today. We have a bunch of those on our park website. So you can actually go and navigate through to, I think it's under Learn More. And there's a map where you can click on the different places and listen to different recordings. So that is on our website and available. Yeah.
Thank you. These are a few things that I pulled down from the website, Anna. Yeah. Noise has been associated with suppressing the immune system and increased levels of stress-related hormones in animals. Reactions, have you heard anything about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely something that the Park Service is considering. And we consider noise, kind of intrinsic noise. Those are things from like machinery or jets flying overhead. As opposed to maybe human voices or the natural sounds that were there. I think that there's still a lot of research that can be done into the actual effects of specific things, but we know that when there is a lot of noise, birds have to communicate louder to actually be able to hear each other. So I think it's always a good idea to just be aware of the sounds that you're making and try to be kind of respectful, considerate when you're out in the wilderness for people, but also for the things that live out there, that is their home.
Interesting. That was something that's mentioned on the park's website, is that the birds, when it's noisy, they have to call up louder. So thank you. Someone asked me about, is there an app for bird call recognition and identification? I've actually looked into that while you were talking. There's one called, you may know of these, but Song Slew is a pretty sophisticated app that IDs birds by their call. It's $10. Another one is Chirp-O-Matic. It's a more simple version, $3 to $4. Have you ever seen any of those? And do you have any comments?
Yeah, I mean, I love those. I'm kind of a novice birder, so I have one on my phone. So I think there are a lot of great ones out there that can really help you identify. I didn't mention in my program, but we also do bird monitoring in the park. That's partially done through just listening. So we have people who go out and record different species of birds that are living in different places just by hearing their calls, which I think is really impressive. And what I want to do when I grow up is be able to identify all of those. And some of those apps I think are a great way to just start familiarizing yourself with the sounds that are out there.
That's great. Are some of those people, do you know, are they volunteers?
I'm not positive about all of them, but I believe that a lot of them are students. So it's like a partnership program. But
That's great.
A resource department.
Yeah. Do you have a perspective on where would be a really ideal place to shoot photos of night skies in the Milky Way on dark nights? Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, you know, I would probably suggest someplace like Diablo Overlook, because it's kind of a higher point. You know, we're really forested and mountainous area. So a lot of places you are in North Cascades, unless you're up on the top of a mountain, you're not going to get that great clear view. So possibly someplace like Diablo Overlook might be nice because you kind of you're looking out over the mountains and the lake and are up a little bit higher.
Good idea. Good idea. Anna, I want to thank you. I want to share with our folks who are with us that next week we're going to be featuring a junior ranger field trip in Spanish to learn about the animals of Mount Rainier National Park. So that's next Wednesday. Then on June 24, we'll be back at Rainier to learn about natural history of the park with an author whose book has come out and is getting very good reviews. Then we'll go in July, we're going to go to every other week because we know that folks will want to be outside quite a bit. If you have suggestions or ideas that you're interested in learning more about, send them our way. WNPF.org is a great way to get in touch with us, make a donation to support these programs. We welcome that. A lot of you have done that. We're very grateful. That's it. Anna, you were just terrific. I wish I could see you in the visitor center. So hopefully, hopefully this summer.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Sharon, thank you too. And everyone who is with us, thanks for your support. Thanks for checking in with us. And we'll hope to see you all next week. Have a safe trip back home and unpack your packs and have a good afternoon. Thanks, everyone.